19:30 Central African Time, and thank you for being a part of our network tonight. My name is Siphumelele Zondi. Microsoft South Africa Managing Director Zouaib Hoosen is in the studio to discuss their initiative to arm young people with IT knowledge. In the program, we'll find out about how taxi app Uber has launched in Kenya. This is despite their reported problems in South Africa and other markets. Selfies aren't going away. There's been a world record attempt in South Africa this week. We'll tell you how that went. We are live. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. It's News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Let's start with the social media and technology news. Many in the tech world were upset when Google announced its shutdown of South African website creation service, Woza Online. Woza was loved for allowing small businesses a platform to create free websites, but there are others that do similar work without charging thousands. Vigo is one of them. Woza Online has been praised for helping small businesses get online without paying the thousands that web development companies charge. The initiative allows businesses that need websites to use free templates to design them. This would then give them simple websites that explain what the business does and gives information on the small business. As this is ending, Vigo, a startup that does what Google has been doing for 2 years, says it's ready to do the work that was previously done by the internet giant. Vigo is charging only 150 Rand for this, a small amount compared to the thousands that developers charge.
People are just not that inclined to create their own sites. I mean, people are focused on trying to get their business up and running, so it's quite challenging to actually use a site building tool and create your own site.
As a result of this, Vigo says it offers some assistance. And when a small business is online, it can attract new clients easier.
The whole world is online. I mean, everything is internet driven. People start using the internet more and more to look at services and book services and buy products. E-commerce is growing rapidly in South Africa.
So as many are livid at the fact that Google is shutting down Woza, all is not doom and gloom for the small players, as there are others that can help in this regard. The Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, that is ICASA, and Cell C might be facing a legal battle soon. This after Cell C filed mobile termination rates court papers against ICASA. The mobile operator is unhappy about the rates set by the authority. South Africa's third largest mobile operator has gone to the South Gauteng High Court to get it to review ICASA's decision on termination rates. Towards the end of September last year, ICASA left the rates unchanged at 20 cents. In September, they will drop again to 16 cents and then 13 cents in the final year to September 2017. Cell C and Telkom Mobile will now be able to charge MTN and Vodacom 31 cents to terminate calls on their networks, which would drop to 24 cents and finally to 19 cents. South Africans took part in the Guinness World Record Selfie Challenge this weekend. This entails taking as many selfies as possible within a 24-hour period. Samsung hosted this event in Johannesburg, in Sandton City, as well as in Cape Town's Canal Walk shopping mall. Let's take a look at this, or at what went down over there.
Came out to prove that they too can go down the Guinness Book of World Records by taking as many selfies as possible in a period of 24 hours. So I decided to join them and also take a selfie.
But first, let me take a selfie.
I was here yesterday afternoon and then had my first selfie at about 4:05.
We've been here for about 3 hours maybe. We eventually took the selfie.
Some of these selfie lovers were early birds that made their way to Sandton City on Friday and Saturday to ensure that Samsung's attempt to get South Africa to break the 10,000 selfie global record in 24 hours is a success.
We spoke to the guys at Guinness World Records, and they set us a challenge. I said, nobody's ever broken 10,000 selfies to a single account in 24 hours. Maybe you guys should give that a go. So we had a little bit of think about it, and we thought that's a great challenge. It's something that we can get behind. It's something we think South Africa can get behind. And so we made it our mission, and here we are today.
And this mission was well accomplished, with South Africa breaking the 10,000 selfie mark by a whopping 12,800. using Samsung's newly launched Galaxy A range smartphones. Guinness World Record is yet to announce the country that took the most selfies.
But first, let me take a selfie.
Technology is presenting opportunities for new startups in Africa, but it's very difficult for them to grow without funding. This is the dilemma that Kenya's small companies are facing.
Over the past few years, Kenya has seen a growth in the use of technology. In 2012, they were the second most active Twitter users in the continent. However, initial funding for tech startups is a major problem in Kenya. The lack of investors in the ICT sector in the country has left some of them in destitute. So why are they not attracting donors?
First of all, maybe identifying the right gap into the market and creating the right solution to address that gap.
This is her message to potential investors.
Invest your money, invest your mentorship, and I would like to encourage young people to keep innovating.
Meanwhile, Safaricom, the country's largest network provider, came to the rescue of a startup that created an app called Eneza. Eneza, which means reach in Swahili, is an educational tool that's used in schools. Christopher Asego, co-founder of Eneza Education, says he thinks that startups must be self-sustaining.
When you're starting a business, you want it to sort of fund itself. So the initial funding that we got brought us this far.
The US online taxi service firm Uber is finally operating in Kenya. The company launched its online taxi hailing service last week, joining a growing list of such taxi services. Uber is hoping to ride on Kenya's mobile phone penetration and a tech-savvy populace. Here's Sarah Kimani in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, with the details.
What's wrong with you? Yeah, what's wrong with you?
A day on Nairobi streets, an attempt at maneuvering through the traffic. Congestion in Nairobi often leads to wasted man hours and money. Peter Karanja, a Nairobi taxi operator for 30 years now, knows only too well the downside of driving in East Africa's biggest economy.
Traffic, it's a nightmare in Nairobi. It's a nightmare. Yeah, like for example, now going to the airport, which is 17 kilometers from here. It can even take you 3 hours to go and come back. And the fare is not that rewarding.
That has not deterred US online taxi service Uber to join the Kenyan taxi market. The company is betting on technology.
We look at smartphone penetration, we look at technology adoption. Is there an interest in apps? Were there any competitors that went in before us? How are they doing?
The minimum fare is 500 shillings, that is about 50 rands, while cancellation costs 300 shillings, that is 30 rands. The payment is cashless. The fare is charged automatically onto the customer's credit or debit card. Therein lies the problem for Uber. A research released on Thursday indicates that card payment dipped 18% last year as mobile money uptake continued to grow.
We realized that to scale in Kenya, we're going to have to adopt M-Pesa as a form of payment, and we're actively looking into that right now.
While Uber will not reveal its war chest in Nairobi, it will be joining a growing list of online hailing taxi services. So far, there are 6 such companies. International company Easy set up shop last year.
Competition is great, right? It enforces everybody to up their games, and innovate and provide more choice for the consumer.
Back at the taxi rank, Karanja says, while technology may be the answer to business, times are hard.
Very challenging because we are many and the business is low. So you do not expect it to be that booming.
Nairobi is Uber's 6th African city. It will be offering a 20% discount during its first 2 weeks of.
China is the world's biggest smartphone market, and everyone wants a share of that. With that said, Apple has in the last week announced that they are now the top-selling brand there, but the country is not without its fair share of problems.
Biggest market is no longer in its backyard in the United States. That title is now claimed by China. The iPhone 6 and 6 Plus sales in China jumped 70% in the last 3 months of 2014. This helped the company ring in its largest profit in corporate history. The phone's success is largely due to the bigger screens, a formula that does not always work well in the United States. One of the biggest drawcards for Apple products is their handy mobile computers used to access the internet. But China has an infamous system of restricting the dissemination of information, and that system is called the Great Firewall. Private network providers called VPNs have been affected by a recent upgrade in the Great Firewall.
I understand there were issues with more aggressive policies from China to block it. So now it doesn't work so well. And I complained to them about it, and they just give me the same old story. They blame China and Apple. So I'm very frustrated with the service now. And I just want it to work. I don't care why it doesn't work. I just want it to work.
Ironically, while internet censorship is legal in China, the government still relies heavily on digital platforms to communicate with the public. According to the government Weibo report released in the last week, the number of government accounts on Weibo skyrocketed to over 130,000 in 2014. Weibo is China's version of Twitter. The account of the Supreme People's Court, for one, attracted more than 10 million fans within a year. 90% of the courts in China have opened their Weibo accounts to broadcast trials of hot cases.
After the break, we'll speak to Microsoft South Africa Managing Director Zouaib Hoosen to discuss their initiative to arm young people with IT knowledge. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. We're on News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Stay with us.
Morning of the 21st of February 1917, their ship was rammed by a liner. Legend has it that as the Mendi was going down, members of the 5th Battalion danced barefoot aboard the vessel. 616 died that day, most of them black.
After the rapid food security assessment that was done together with WFP and FAO, we found that this is one of the heavily impacted areas because of Ebola.
Over 300 bikers from across the province making a difference in the fight against blood-related cancer.
I'm here in support of cancer, and my sister has cancer, so I'm riding for cancer.
Catch all news locally and internationally. Tune into SABC, your #1 news channel, news at 8 from Monday to Sunday.
Zoom into Africa. This is the Republic of Congo. The president is Mr. Denis Sassou Nguesso. Got independent from France on 15th August in 1960. The population is more than 4 million people. One of the major languages spoken is French. Monetary unit is CFA.
SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. Find us there and follow us. As we live in a digital era, it's now necessary for one to know how to use a computer. But teaching young school kids to do this is sometimes difficult with the scheduled power cuts we often experience. So a school in Verulam, just outside Durban, has received a solar-powered computer lab. This will make the necessary job of giving them computer lessons a lot easier. Renee Heiner has the story for us.
A new world of knowledge is at these young fingertips. Most of these learners have never seen a computer, let alone have access to the internet or email. The learners are from rural areas near Verulam. Parents can't always afford the school fee of 400 Rand a year. Despite the challenges, the school has performed well in academics, making them deserving candidates.
Today's children, with technology, most of them, they are on the cell phones, etc., and other kinds of technology. It's not going to be very difficult to bring them up to speed. However, I would also like to say that our learners at our school have never ever been exposed to computer literacy of whatever sort. And therefore, this year has come like a dream for our school learners.
The computer lab is sponsored by Give It Back, Pointing Pty Limited and African Union Communications. It is a container kitted out with 21 desktop computers. 20 similar labs have been installed at schools in the last 4 years, benefiting more than 21,000 disadvantaged learners. But this is the first solar-powered unit. The lab can run for 7 hours without sunlight.
We can learn how to go into the internet and search for many things. It can help me in maths, English and other subjects.
We're going to start off with the very basics. We're going to teach them the hardware and the software of the computer, how to use the mouse, how to switch the computer on, etc. And then we're going to move forward with teaching them how to type documents. We're going to show them how to print documents.
The school also gets support with training and maintenance.
The Microsoft Youth Spark is a roadshow that teaches young people in under-resourced areas about technology jobs. The international program hopes to teach youth about the importance of social and IT entrepreneurship. Joining us in the studio to talk about this is Managing Director of Microsoft South Africa, Zouaib Hoosen. Hello, and thank you for being a part of our network.
Thank you.
Now, why is it important to go on this roadshow?
So I think the key or the aim of the Youth Spark program is to ensure that we empower young people to imagine, but also to realize their dreams and their full potential. And what we do is, we do this by connecting them through to an opportunity around education, around entrepreneurship, and around employment, thereby helping them to create a vision for their lives and a better future.
Do you find, as Microsoft, that it sometimes is a pain finding young people with the right IT and tech skills?
So this is the challenge, right? The way we approach this is we look at graduates coming in at the one end of the spectrum, and we see ourselves as providing a bridging program that takes them from a university degree into the workplace. And we are finding that more and more corporates are looking for a specific set of skills, and there is that gap. And it's our duty and our responsibility, and we've taken it upon ourselves to provide that bridging gap for the young people.
What's in it for you, though?
So, from a business point of view, clearly, we hope that as we build out skills in South Africa, we have a positive impact on the economy. Hopefully, some of these young kids will continue with bright careers in the Microsoft world. And if not, they'll go on to do other things. So, from a purely philanthropic point of view, this is an important initiative for us.
How does the South African leg of the initiative differ from what happens in other countries?
So, the South African leg is based on being locally relevant. So the important part is we looked at the National Development Plan that government has put forward. We looked at the priorities of government and said, how do we align to that? And so we chose Youth Spark with a particular focus. The first one being, how do we help to transform education in the country? So the second one is, how do we help launch a new breed of technology innovators in the country? And by doing that, we do that by giving out free tools and access and skills around that. So these are the areas that we actually look at to try and provide a direct alignment between what government is trying to do and how Microsoft can contribute and be locally relevant.
Entrepreneurship is a big part of this, and IT entrepreneurship specifically. Why is this?
So when we look at the world as we see it today, and some of the segments you covered earlier on in the program, the likes of Uber and new business models, more and more we are seeing that there are unique opportunities as a result of software development. In fact, I liken superpowers as we think of the Marvel characters. Today's real life superpowers are in the hands of developers today. And so, that's the drive we want to make, and that's the focus we have. So by linking to young people who are getting involved from an entrepreneurship point of view, we call them independent software vendors. We have a program called BizSpark. And BizSpark is primarily aimed at supporting these young fledgling companies from business skills all the way through to technology access and skills in technology. Today we have something like over 1,250 registered companies in our program receiving support.
Last year you reached about 1,500 young people around South Africa. What's been the feedback from them been like?
It's an amazing thing to listen to young people, and when they've come through the program and you realize the impact you're having on their lives. This is not about the economics of the situation and the contribution to the economy of the country. The impact is around the personal crisis that young people are facing in this country of an increasingly uncertain future. And by having these skills and having the opportunity they are so grateful and they are so appreciative of the impact it's having on their lives.
And I suppose the tech skills that are needed are beyond now just switching on a computer and typing on Word documents.
Absolutely. So, this is where we are starting to see the skills gap, right? It's beyond, as you said, the basics. We're starting to see gaps right across the software spectrum,
Yes.
Across SQL, across web design, web programming, etc.
Yes. Zouaib Hoosen, Managing Director of Microsoft South Africa, thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, so now find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. It's News Network at sabc.co.za. We'll be back after a short break.
Well, this story is basically about South Africa's top 3 mine bosses, namely Glassenberg, Mr. Motsipe and Desasco, packing in millions despite, the strikes at Marikana and so forth. Ray, what are your views?
This cannot continue because this is a recipe for disaster. Because there's no way workers can be happy if they see these kinds of figures that are being tossed around.
It says that Desasco's salary is 443 times the 12,500 rand that the miners were asking for.
And on what basis? No matter how brilliant you may be, what justifies giving someone that kind of a salary? It's actually sick.
River's mother, Miss June Steenkamp, has done a moving memoir where she explains how her daughter hasn't in fact, had sexual intercourse with Mr. Pistorius. What do you make of the story now, Mpumelelo?
I must say I disagree with you. It's not a side story. It's a very serious story that got serious implications.
Watch Media Monitor with me, Alicia Jali, Sundays at 9 a.m. only on the SABC News Channel.
News Network at sabc.co.za. Send us an email. Welcome back. Today we are looking at one of those really helpful gadgets that are a breakthrough for the scientific and medical fields. It's the new smart glasses that help severely visually impaired people.
It might look like a cartoon, but this could change the lives of those with sight problems. Images like these are seen by wearers of Oxford University's new smart glasses. The augmented reality spectacles are designed to help people with serious visual impairments see. Developed by Stephen Hicks and his research team, they use cameras to augment vision. Hicks says they even work for those registered blind by improving their depth perception.
When you go blind, you generally have some sight remaining. And using a combination of cameras and a see-through display, we're able to enhance nearby objects to make them easier to see for obstacle avoidance and also facial recognition.
The glasses use 3-dimensional cameras that can detect the structure and position of nearby objects. Software then uses the information to block out the background and highlighting only what's nearest to the user.
And we turn that into a high-contrast cartoon that then we present on the inside of a see-through pair of glasses. And we can add the person's normal vision to the enhanced view that you can show here, and allowing the person to use their remaining sight as they would generally have done to see the world in a better way.
After testing the glasses outside a laboratory setting, the final challenge before production will be to make them smaller.
Let's take a look at what some people have been sharing in social media. Outpouring of condolences on Twitter after the passing of top billing presenter Simba Mere. Mere died in a car accident yesterday morning. The 26-year-old was on his way to the airport in Johannesburg to attend the Met in Cape Town. Many have been sharing photos of themselves with the SABC presenter. Tunisia has been trending across Africa. African Cup of Nations hosts Equatorial Guinea won the match against them to advance to the next round, and Tunisia wasn't happy with the decision. This is after the hosts were handed a controversial penalty. In Kenya, Uncle Bob with photos of sleeping Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe have been trending. This has been the Kenyans' congratulations to Mugabe as the new African Union chairperson. And that's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za and email. We leave you with a video that's on Google's homepage as today's doodle. Google has marked what would have been the 113th birthday of pioneering African-American jazz poet and social activist Langston Hughes. From me and the rest of the team, have a good one.